Rabbi Meir Kahane's heart beat in defense of his fellow Jews everywhere, yet few men in history were the focus of such calumny, vehemence, vitriol, splenic invective, and irrational hatred. It took a great soul to survive such tremendous adversities and pressures. Kahane had a powerful intellect, was a perspicacious analyst of current events, and a potent seer of future ones, having forewarned of the intifadas and worse to come long ago. The sheer volume of his writings was prodigious, and he lectured and debated tirelessly. He had great love of Torah and the Jewish people, literally having given his life to help Jews everywhere. Sephardi Chief Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu said that Kahane represented the true spirit of biblical Judaism, and that he was a reincarnation of a biblical warrior who did not know the meaning of the word fear. His eviction from the 1988 election process on grounds of racism and the attempts to try him for sedition were nothing but crass politics and a dread of seeing a Kahane in the Knesset with 12 seats. He sometimes wrote with anger, but his cause was nothing less than the survival of a Jewish Israel. His chastisements were unfortunately not taken in their proper context. His medicine may have been too strong for some to take, but its mere presence, even on the shelf, served an important purpose. Rabbi Meir Kahane and his son Binyamin Ze'ev deserve credit for making otherwise complacent Jews aware of some uncomfortable facts. The righteous man perishes and no one lays it to heart. Devout men are taken away and no one understands that the righteous are taken away from the evil that is to come. Isaiah chapter 57. And now Rabbi David Katz will give a talk on the subject of the ger in the teachings of Rabbi Kahane.
Explain that of the Yortzeit, why we're here.
This week marks the 27th anniversary of the assassination of Rabbi Kahane in November 1990.
All right, you just move back a little bit so you don't shake the table. And we'll pull the book off. All right. All right, so this is the second installment from what began, how long ago? It was about a year and a half ago, roughly. And it was August, not this last August, the previous August, in Waco, Texas. Where we had, the first memorial, how was that?
The Wendell Jones Memorial Conference.
That's right. I always forget exactly how it goes. And when we put together the conference, I thought it'd be a good idea to bring up Meir Kahane's teaching on Ger Toshav, because he was at the 1990 Noahide conference with Wendell Jones. Go ahead and say it. Yeah?
The first
Noahide conference.
Very first one.
And it's a bit painful to think what would have been if Meir Kahane wouldn't have been taken out months after that conference. It was a Noahide conference. Wendell was there. Everyone was there. Apparently Shlomo Karlebach was there. Miriam was there. I wasn't there, so I can't tell you what was said behind closed doors and in close proximity. So as it was a Noahide event, the big question was it a Ger Toshav? Anything. Now there are those who say it was Ger Toshav to some extent. Meaning, yes, it was a Noahide conference, but there were not even undertones, but overtones of Ger Toshav. Then there are those that don't say anything about it. The point I want to make is, we are how many years later? 27 years later?
Yes.
And as you pointed out in a recent post, in the Torah world, there's always a division. Those that know and those that don't know. Whatever it is. And in Lubavitch, you'll have Lubavitchers that know what the Rebbe said and Lubavitchers that don't know, but think they know what the Rebbe said. Every branch of Judaism has this. In Brisk, you can say there are those that know how to learn and those that don't know how to learn. And it's an epidemic. So the question that we are posing here, if the first Vendel conference that we had in Waco a year and a half ago, I posed the question through a shiur, the Kahan got ger. And there are those that, the Kahanists of the world, I lectured in Pittsburgh a couple months ago, met several Kahanists, they said, yes, you're absolutely right, Kahana got ger. What does it mean, got ger? As I know there's a lot of controversy around our infamous Facebook page, I Get Ger, they call them the Got Gers. I Get Ger was a concept derived between me and this fellow here, Russell Kirk. Because people weren't getting anything ger. Ger Toshav, called ger Toshav. And they said there's no ger Toshav today except in the time of Jubilee. And then those that said, oh yeah, there's ger Toshav today, and it's a different deal altogether from Jubilee. So Russell and I said there's two kinds of people in this world. People that get ger, people that don't get ger. And Russell says to me, I get ger. And that's how the concept was born. Within minutes, we open up a page with Russell wearing his ger Yamaha. It says, I get ger. And that has become an infamous tag phrase. You either love it or you hate it. You're either insulted by it, offended by it, or you're rallying the troops behind it. And really it's the same thing. If you get ger, you're not bothered by it, meaning you understand the ger teaching and learning, and you're not bothered by Jubilee and saying false things. Or you're on a crusade against the got gers, as some people want to say in a derogatory sense. So then there's a very special blogger. Many bloggers are special. And there's a lot of Kahanists out there. We actually had a nice run with one on the JTF forum. That was a wonderful thread before it got deleted. And the argument was, again, is Katz's take on Kahana's ger right or not? And the two camps emerged. Those that say Kahana hates ger Tosha, blah, 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 blah. And those that say, yeah, Kahana got ger. And that thread ended with the main antagonist making a strange post saying, I'm gone, I've left the forum, which never happens in forum land. And that guy left. And it ended up being on my tour, we met the family members of this guy. We still haven't heard the story. But the bottom line is, there are either people that get this or don't get this. So I have a list of Chachamim that I hold by, that I call, they got ger. And when we get approbation from rabbis, the approbation of rabbis doesn't support Russell Kirk's Facebook page, and they don't support David Katz's little conferences and the sentence stuff. What we want is rabbinic support to say, Rabbi such and such, do you understand the ger message in whatever book the book is authentic in? Let's take the Mishnah Berurah. Chafetz Chaim talks about ger Toshav. We would say, Rabbi such and such, you are a big rabbi. How do you understand ger Toshav, in the Mishnah Berurah, for example? And he would look at it and say, yeah, what's the problem? A ger Toshav exists today, it's not shaykh to Yovel, and he cannot be a Shabbos goy. Great! Rabbi such and such, would you like to write that down and say, I, Rabbi such and such, learn, blah, 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 and say that the learning is real? 99% of rabbis don't want to do that, because that's stupid. Who does that? Who goes around getting a written statement that this is how you... There's no smicha for that. And the rabbis don't understand that anyone would not learn it right. But the bottom line is, when I go on my tours, I do get support by learning the sugya with rabbis. Just last week, I met with Rabbi Zalman Nehemiah Goldberg, and we learned the sugya. I met with Rabbi Hollander of the Noahide movement. He got the sugya. We met with Rabbi Moshe Soloveitchik in Chicago, and he got the sugya. We have a new book out called Laws of Ger Toshav, with us coming from Rabbi Zev Leff and Matis Yahu, and he got the sugya. I'll even go on record as saying this. We met with Rabbi Mendel Kessin, went over the sugya, and he got the sugya. Then they say, well, if Katz has all this support How come they're not coming out of the woodwork supporting them? Well, who wants to go hit their head against a brick wall for an hour? Because anyone that shows support for Ger, you're going to get your head beat against a brick wall, and that's not too fun. Why is that? That's like asking, why is the Satan the Satan? Pun intended. But there are many, many, many qualified scholarly rabbis who get the Ger teaching. And no, they're not going on Russell's I Get Ger page, liking Russell's post, because that's stupid. To say to some big rabbi, go on Facebook, it's not a Facebook thing. I Get Ger is a message that says we get the Ger teaching in the sources. So what are some of those sources that rabbis today are being asked if the sources are legit and being understood this way? Chafetz Chaim, Mishnah Berurah. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov talks about Ger a lot. The Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about Ger a lot. Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, my own personal mission as a brisker, bringing out Rav Aaron Soloveitchik's message of loving mankind, that the Ger Toshav Sugya exists today. Rabbi Nachum Rabinovich of Ma'ale Adumin. And there's many rabbis, more. Your favorite Rishonim, Rashi, Rambam, Ravid, Ramban, all your favorite Achronim, Baal Shem Tov, Vilna Gaon. The Ger Toshav is part of Torah Mesorah. So when I go around and I go into a Lubavitch, I would maybe take out the Rebbe's Sicha, Chelik Lamed Aleph, recommended to me by Rabbi Gerlitsky of Crown Heights, and I would ask a Lubavitcher, why we call it Lubavitch, I would say, have you ever learned Sicha, Chelik Lamed Aleph, Parshas Mishpatim? Unfortunately, 90% of the time is no, I haven't learned that one. As Amnon has been reported as saying, it's missing from the shelves of many Bati Midrashim of Lubavitch. I'm not suggesting a controversy, but it's a bit of a mazel-inyan. And why? To quote Shifra Hendry on this, who we unfortunately missed our appointment with her today, that Sicha is different than all the other Sichas. Now, I'm not Lubavitch, so I can't say that myself. But by Lubavitch testimony, Sichas are not supposed to be breaking your head open. But you go learn that Sicha, and you will have to break your head open brisker style to get it. So a lot of Lubavitchers don't learn it. Rabbi Nachman teaches about Ger. And in the English-speaking world, it becomes the convert. And there's a story, but we're not here to talk about those stories. Those are another video for another time. We're here today to talk about Rav Kahane. And Amnon, you've been trying to get me into Rav Kahane for years. Because Amnon and I, like Russell Kirk over here, are Kol HaTorah guys, Mashiach ben Yosef. In fact, you said we had no business being friends other than I spoke about Mashiach ben Yosef when we first met. And you said Meir Kahane spoke about Mashiach ben Yosef. So I heard about your Meir Kahane for years and years and years. And I thought it was mildly interesting that he mentioned Kol HaTorah, Mashiach ben Yosef. I just wouldn't call myself a Kahanas proper. But then, when it came time for the Vendel conference, I thought maybe now's the time to get into Meir Kahane. So our famous special blogger wanted to say, I'm not even a Kahanist. Well, I'm not a Lubavitcher either. And I'm not a Breslover. I'm not a lot of things. But does a person have to belong to a sect of Judaism to learn the Torah of the leader of that Judaism? Do I have to be Lubavitch to understand Lubavitch? Or do we say that the Rebbe was also a rabbi and he brought the same sources, same rabbinics as all great rabbis? Meaning, is the Rebbe of Lubavitch some super Rebbe of only Lubavitch? Or is he a super rabbi of Lubavitch who brought rabbinic stuff, for lack of a better word? Rabbi Nachman, he had super spiritual powers and he transformed realities with, okay, great, Kabbalah master. Was he a rabbi? Did he bring the same verses in Tanakh? Did he bring the same rabbinics in Likutei Moharan? Then you say, Chafetz Chaim. Oh, he's a boring halachist, it's just Mishnah Berurah. Maybe Chafetz Chaim was a great rabbi. And the list goes on and on. So our perspective of rabbis or rebbes or mishpiyas, is there an apex to the pyramid that says your leader of your Judaism, whatever you want to call him, a rebbe, this, but was he a great rabbi? A lot of people would say no. I had Lubavitchers arguing with me on Facebook saying that my take on the Rebbe is wrong because the Rebbe didn't know it on that level. I must be a Mashiachist. Because only a Mashiachist believes that the Rebbe knew everything. I'm not a Mashiachist or Lubavitcher. But after learning Chelik Lamed Aleph, I can tell you that the Rebbe knew the Torah on the same level as the Brisker Rav. That much I can tell you. And not many Briskers will say that about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and not many Lubavitcher Rebbe followers will say that about him and Brisk, this and that. What Ger Toshav does, and why it's so controversial, is if I'm a Brisker, I have no business walking into the Chabad house of Cape Town and talking about Ger Toshav, the Rebbe, and Brisk in a Chabad house. That doesn't happen. And I can go to a Breslov place, I can go to a Litvish place, I can go to a Hasidic place, I can look in any one of your books and pull it off the shelf and prove to you that your Rebbe got ger. And I will use those words all brash Texan on you, got ger. Because they all did. Pick any Hasidic Rebbe and we'll go pull Dvarim off the shelf, 1421. What does he say about the Nevela? That you give the Nevela to the ger in your gates. Or we'll look at the Ten Commandments. Which ger was in the gates in the Ten Commandments? What does he say? If I said, Rebbe, well, who's the ger in your gates that you mentioned in Kiddush? Now, the layman on Ma'aretz will say it's a convert. Oh, so we need to be told that the convert keeps Shabbos. As if we didn't know that converts keep Shabbos. The guy that knows the sugya, the proper Rebbe, will say, it's either Ger Toshav or Nevid Kanani. Ger Tzedek, Ger Toshav. Ger Tzedek, not convert, Ger Tzedek, Nevid Kanani. Ger transcends all the little people, and it goes very high, and every major Torah authority got ger. And it's on a Facebook page, and it's not a David Katzism. It's called, does he understand the ger sugya? There's a sugya of ger, and it exists in your Humash. Right? You go look it up, and go look in the Talmud, and look in the Midrash, and look in Kabbalah, and look in Chassidus. Any book, I promise you, I can find one in this room. There are the various books in this room. Every group of Judaism got ger because it's Torah. And your leader of Judaism was a Torah Jew, first and foremost, as a rabbi. If they became a rebbe after that, that's something different. Spiritual powers are something different, if you want to go that way or whatever way. But at the end of the day, they all read the same sources, the same conclusions, and they didn't write anything themselves. It's called copy and paste. Did Rav Kahane get ger? There are those that will say yes, because he got everything, they'll say. Then it's the superpowers, and he flew to Mars once. And others will say, that's some Facebook page, ger's not real, he just hated the Goyim and wanted to kill them. Let's go kill Goyim. And those people are Amaratzim, and these people are Talmid Chacham. And they don't necessarily get along. And I will quote my favorite quote from you. We won't mention names, but I gave the whole Ger Toshav Sugya over a guy, this guy, bless his heart, you wouldn't leave him alone. And he wrote to me an email, Rabbi Katz, the only problem I have with what you're saying is if what you're saying is true, then that means the Rambam is deep and it's not simple learning, therefore I just can't take that on board. Oh, so what you're saying is when the Torah is deep, now it's wrong because it's supposed to be shallow and simple. And that rabbi, we haven't heard from him, he's not a big rabbi, but we haven't heard from him since. And that's the consensus view. Then you're holding the English book in your hands of the Jewish idea, right? Or somewhere over here. And they'll say, but Meir Kahane approved of the translation. Well, I've introduced Russell Kirk for the last 3 days to every Jew I've met in Sfat as a Ben Noach. Why? Because they don't know what a Ger Toshav is. And I don't have time to explain it to every guy I see in the streets. I say, hey, my B'nai Noach friends came. And when they say, oh, that's interesting, then I say, what's the first thing I ask every single Jew? How do you say that in Hebrew? What is that in the Torah? And then they all say, I don't know. And then I say, Ger Toshav. Meaning, my English translation is not the authority. It's not the emes. And even in my new book, Laws of Ger Toshav, they'll say, oh, but you then don't read it. Go to the original and call it what it says. So Meir Kahane had to get the books translated. I don't care if he translated himself. And if he translated the word ger as convert or proselyte, I don't care. I'm going to tell you that Meir Kahane argues with Meir Kahane. Nobody in the world will say their English translation trumps their Hebrew. Nobody. And as a rabbi, I don't care what you hear me say in English. Me and Hollander got in an argument. Well, you're right about the Sugi and the Hebrew, but it matters in English. No, it doesn't, Hollander. English language is a warring language in linguistics. Language is war. When you bring a neologism to the new word and create a new word, then they fight. Do we accept the new word? Not accept the new word. You're in English, it's garbage. Garbage. Today at lunch we had a whole discourse about Jethro. And they'll say, but Jethro converted. The Talmud said so. Did the Talmud say Jethro converted? Did it ask if he converted? Did it even mention Noahide? It said Noahite. So it said Noahite. By can a Ben Noach bring a shlomen? It didn't ask about conversions. It wasn't talking about the Noahide organizations. None of that. Now you read the Sugya in English, it'll be a little confusing and weird. You go in the Hebrew, and it's a very different story. And then to quote you, we read, just by passing, we saw Judah married Tamar. And I read it inside. Now, I already know Judah's not a Jew. Judah is a Ben Noach. And Tamar says the Gemara was a Gioris. And then the Rashi there says, and not Akum. And Glenn, what did you say? If I were to say that teaching outside of the English-speaking world, what does it become?
That Rabbi Katz believes a Jew can marry a non-Jew.
That's right, because Judah was a Jew, and Tamar was a non-Jew, and therefore a Jew can marry a non-Jew. That's how it would be convoluted over the Facebook world. When Judah, but the Jews were named after Judah. No. After Purim, we took on the name Yehudim of people who don't do idolatry. It was a totally separate issue. Judah ben Yaakov was a Ben Noach. And Tamar was not an idolater. She was Giorit. So you have a Ben Noach who was a real Ben Noach, meaning a Ben Yaakov type Ben Noach, marrying Bat Shem who was Ger. That's what happens in the Hebrew. But when you take that same story in English, then you get a Jew marries a non-Jew. That's why English will never serve you well. And we saw that today. So now the question is, again, did Kahane get Ger? There are those that are going to say no, because Ger is made up and wrong, blah, blah, blah. And those that are scholars will say yes. What makes the scholar tick? What makes the Amma Aretz tick? That's our question today. When we go in Or Rayom, and you look on page 257, Reish Nun Zayin. We went over this last night. So Meir Kahane is going to say, Lekama Navi es Divrei HaRitva. Can you quickly, please, open the book to chapter 20? And I want you to find, it should be, in my book, it's 1, 2, 3, about the 4th paragraph in. I want you to read me the Ritva quote by Rav Kahane. And start with a little bit earlier, about a good paragraph before that. I want to get a running start, and I want to hear why these people who don't speak Hebrew then believe that there's no ger in there. I want to hear their headspace. Go ahead.
Moreover, it was clear to God that the nations who were the owners of the land before Israel arrived to conquer it, and indeed any non-Jew who views the land as belonging to him, pose a danger to the existence of Eretz Yisrael as the land of the people of Israel. Later, I shall quote Ritva's comment that there are three types of non-Jews: idolaters, descendants of Noah, and foreigners and resident aliens.
Continue.
Regarding Eretz Yisrael, however, non-Jews are divided up into only two groups. The first is non-Jewish nations who were in the land when Israel arrived there to conquer and occupy it. The second is all the rest of the non-Jewish nations, including idolaters, descendants of Noah, and foreigners and alien residents.
All right, are you guys intelligent people? So let's go have a little group discussion. Tell me what Amnon just read. Describe it in your own words. Don't be shy.
There's more than one kind of ger.
Don't tell me the answer. I want to hear from this book in English what you're going to walk away with reading that. From hearing it. We're going to get to the text in a minute. I didn't hear anything. I know there's a bunch of non-Jews, but I'm going to what I walk away with, tell me if I'm wrong, the Ritva was, again, we talked about the, what's that called again, research project in high school? When I remember mine was on euthanasia, my sophomore year. And I didn't want to go to the library to find out what. I already know euthanasia is wrong. So what you want me to go to the library, back in the day, right, the Dewey Decimal System, and look up Newsweek of 1979. Bob Jones said of Newsweek, blah, 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 and he was quoted as saying euthanasia is wrong. You really think I'm going to go do that? I got to go to the library, and so I just wrote, Bob Jones of Newsweek, 1979, said that euthanasia is wrong. Is that what Rav Kahane did? I think so. In English. Isn't that what it sounded like? Who do you guys think the Ritva is, as Amnon just read it? Go ahead. Does Ritva matter? Who said that quote? The Ritva or Rav Kahane? But to me it sounded like about Rav Kahane said. Read it again. Read just the part before the Ritva, and hear what I'm thinking. If I know no Hebrew, only English, go ahead and read it.
Later I shall quote Ritva's comment that there are three types of non-Jews: idolaters, descendants of Noah, and foreigners and resident aliens.
See, that to me, I'm confused if that is a quote from the Ritva, if he's like mentioning the Ritva. What's the answer here? What is Rav Kahane doing? I'll give you a hint. Anything short of the answer, you didn't get it. To me, it sounds like that he's bringing you ideas from this Ritva. Any takers? Does this sound authoritative to you, as in terms of the Ritva? Is it Rav Kahane making a point?
Well, it sounds like he's quoting him. Quoting the Ritva.
But how so? What does that quote do? To me, it's Bob Jones of Newsweek, 1979.
Yeah.
Not if you hold the Ritva as authoritative.
And what I get from it is that the Ritva's words, Rav Kahane's using them to make a point, is my point. That's wrong. Rav Kahane, meaning, another way of saying it, I'm making you guys think. Did Rav Kahane say anything here? You're going to think, yes, he's saying something. Through the words of the Ritva. Am I right? You think he's saying something through the words of the Ritva. No, he's not. This is a straight copy and paste job. Rav Kahane never said anything here. Now, this is where you have to have some background information. Makos 9a is one of the 4 main Ger Toshav Gemaras. Avodah Zorah 64b, Yevamos 48b, Makos 9a increases 9a. Whenever you talk Ger Toshav, you will run into one of those 4 Gemaras. If you're going to go to Yevamos 48b, you're talking Hilchos Shabbos, Rambam Paskin that way, and the Mechaber went that way, also the Shulchan Aruch. And then you're going to bring increases 9a at the same time. If you're going to go Avodah Zorah 64b, you're talking which is a Ger Toshav today. So why do you bring in the Makos 9a? Because this is where we have the source of 3 major Gedarim of non-Jews. Meaning, Rav Kahane is not saying or agreeing with anything. He is copying and pasting. The Kamen Navi is Divrei Ritva, Shishleisha Mine Goyim. Further on, I will bring the words of the Ritva. That there's 3 types of Goyim. That sounds like Meir Kahane. It isn't. It isn't. It's the Ritva. Oivdei Avodah Zarah, Ben Noyach, and Ger Toshav. Just hearing that in Hebrew is a little bit different, isn't it? Or maybe even a lot different. What was the word for Ben Noach?
Descendants of Noah.
Really? Is that what it is? A Ben Noach is a descendant of Noah? Really? Are we talking about Yichus and descendants here? Or are we talking about a category of non-Jew, one of which is called a Ben Noach? Big difference. And the resident whatever, what's it called?
Foreigners and resident aliens.
What is that? What is a foreigner and resident alien? I don't know of that. But I do know what a Ger Toshav is. And I know what the Ritva was talking about when he mentioned a Ger Toshav. And I know what the Ritva was talking about when he said Ben Noach. Nafkamina. A Ben Noach doesn't have Beis Din, whereas a Ger Toshav is a Ben Noach who went to Beis Din. Then you'll get the Lubavitcher Rebbe, you said Beis Din Lav Dafka. Then you have the Shita of the Rogachover Gon, who says, but today, when there's Beis Din's not so accessible, you may have the Lashon Ger Toshav as Ben Noach, since there's not a Beis Din. Then you'll say Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, Rambam Hilchos Malachim 10:10, the language of Ben Noach, which he says is not a complete Ger Toshav, as opposed to 10:9, which is an Akum, the first one here of the Avodah Zarah. You'll say, but it says an idolater, not an Akum. Really? What does the Rambam say? Stam goy oived avodah zarahu. A regular goy in the Lefi Pshuto world is an idolater. Literally. So then the Noahites go, they're calling us idolaters. No. Russell Kirk is Lefi Pshuto Pshat. No. So when Rambam says a goy is an idolater, is that Pshat or Lefi Pshuto? Lefi Pshuto. So is that goy literally bowing to Baal? No. So when we say that the Noahites who haven't given up Shituf are still Oiv de Avodah Zarah, and they say, but we renounced our idolatrous ways. No, you haven't. Not Lefi Pshuto. And rabbinic reality doesn't always follow reality. And I don't care if you are the most non-Avodah Zarah person on earth. When the Torah, Lefi Pshuto, says, Stam goy oived avodah zarahu, and we have to get this goy out of the darga of goy, and the only way to do so is to reject Shituf with Kabbalah, lav dafka before Beis Din, to become a Ger Toshav. Should he not have the prerequisite Beis Din, he is a Ben Noach, not a Ger Toshav Gomor. Did you read that in English? Did you leave that part out unknown? So when you're not prepared to bring that in, I'm going to say you probably don't know the Sugya very well. When I see the Ritva's words, I'm going right there. Everybody in the world thinks this way. I'm sure if we were on the job site and I showed you a leaky pipe, what would the people at work say? Well, Russell, can you just fix it? And what are you going to say? No, not that simple. It's probably a whole story behind it. If you do that with the wrong kind of pipe, it's going to bust again. You got to get the right kind, right? It's a whole story. Everything in the world has wisdom. There's no such thing as, can you fix it? There's no such thing as just simple. When you bring in the Ritva, you're bringing the whole Ger Toshav Sugya. And we call that I get Ger. That means the Rav Kahane got Ger. He knows the Ritva. In the English, Ram known. Is there even a footnote talking about this stuff?
No.
No footnote. So I read the English, I'm supposed to know, or not know, what the Ritva's job here is, Makas 9a, the whole Ger Toshav Sugya, it's all edited out. Have I made my point? So the people online are saying, Kahane never got that, or never got that, never said that. And they're basing it on the same book that you're holding in your hand. So then they turn into a belief contest. Do you believe cats or do you not believe cats? It's not a belief issue. You either know how to learn or you don't. Then they'll say, does Meir Kahane know how to learn? And I didn't know for a long time. I'm not out there checking every rabbi. You mentioned Miriam Karlebach, who died a day or whatever after Meir Kahane. They were both at the conference. So there's, did Karlebach get Ger? Well, I didn't comb over everything in Karlebach's teachings. But I promise you, if you show me Karlebach where it's Shaykh, hopefully he would have gotten Ger. And what if I would learn it? And there's Karlebach saying, the Ritva, yeah, I'll make a video on YouTube, Karlebach got Ger. And then all the Karlebachs say, oh, it's crazy. When you look into it, you can find out very quickly who got Ger and who didn't. Do you think the Lubavitcher Rebbe didn't quote this Ritva? Really? Do you think that the Chavetz Chaim doesn't quote this Ritva? Really? Do you think that all of the big Rabbanim that got this didn't quote it? It's standard quoting. If he didn't quote it, we would have a big problem with Meir Kahane and Kahanism. It would be a sham. Just like the English version is a sham for people that don't know how to learn. It's a chesed that the English language even exists for you to help you. And we should be thankful that there's a language that helps us barely get by. But it's a crutch. And everyone knows it's a crutch. And when you really want to know, you go look it up in Hebrew. If you can't look it up yourself, you go to someone that can. I don't know everything in Hebrew. I have to look things up. We're all victims of this. But don't take the English and make it into a New Testament. Because that's not the right answer. And when Rav Kahane brings the Ritva, that tells us he is a real rabbi. And Kahanism is a real thing. And his views of Eretz Yisrael and the Muslims is a real thing. And then you say Kahane Sodek, he was right. What was he right about? Then you bring in the whole, was he against Goyim? Because in that whole English, I heard a bunch of this, non-Jew, nations, non-Jew. I didn't hear the fine distinctions of the non-Jews. Can any of you tell me, from what I've done read twice, the distinctions of non-Jews? Go ahead, one more time.
Regarding Eretz Yisrael, however, non-Jews are divided...
Wait, from the beginning, from the words of the Ritva through the end.
Later I shall quote Ritva's comment that there are three types of non-Jews: idolaters, descendants of Noah, and foreigners and resident aliens. Regarding Eretz Yisrael, however, non-Jews are divided up into only two groups. The first is non-Jewish nations who were in the land when Israel arrived there to conquer and occupy it. The second is all the rest of the non-Jewish nations, including idolaters, descendants of Noah, and foreigners and resident aliens.
Raise your hand if you understand that. Let's go. It's very clear English. All of our Kahanis that don't know Hebrew claim to know Kahanism from the English. Raise your hands high. Come on. Glenn, how many kinds of non-Jews are there according to Meir Kahane?
2, 3, or 4, depending which way you want to count what was said.
Good. All right. So which one is it?
Well, it could be 6.
Could be 6? Ladies, how many non-Jews are there?
I said 4.
5? No one seems to know? You want to find out? So we bring the Ritva. There are 3 kinds of goyim hain. How many kinds of non-Jews are there? 3. What are they? Idolaters. Is that literally idolaters? No. Does not have to be literally idolaters. That's the first mistake they make. Stam goy ovid vodazarahu. That is Lefi Pshuta. And if he's a real idolater, okay, so some Hindu running around is an idolater. Ben Noyach, is that a literal, is it defined as a descendant of Noah, or is it something different? I.e., one taking on the Noahide laws, who's not a Stam Goy, and has not appeared before Beis Din. Or a Ger Toshav, one who has appeared before Beis Din as being careful in the 7. How many kinds are there? 3. Ulam legabe Eretz Yisrael yesh chaluka acheros. But by the land of Israel, there's another way of distinguishing. Meaning, when you said 3, where were you talking about? Where?
In the world.
In the world.
I didn't say that. You assumed that. So now he's going to make you stop assuming.
Yeah, but the reason we're saying that is because then he follows it.
But wait, let me get there. Meaning, there's no reason to have an assumption yet. We just know that there's 3 kinds of goyim, and I don't know anything else. Don't let the mind wander. But the person in English, their mind is wandering. Ulafi yesh shnei minei lo Yehudim. Ha'echad, meaning there's 2 kinds of non-Jews. All of a sudden, it's not goyim. Now it's lo Yehudim. The first are the nations, Amim, Alo Yehudim, Shehayu Ba'aretz Ka'asher Am Yisrael Agia L'Sham L'Kvisha L'Roshta. The nations, the peoples. What does that mean? Ha'amim. I don't know, how's Amim translated?
Non-Jewish nations.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Non-Jewish nations? Think so? When are we? Remember, it says when they were in the land before Israel got there. So when are we?
1300 BCE.
Thank you. So we're not today, are we? So I was thinking it was the nations today. No. It's the 7 Canaanite nations. Already, you don't even, what was that translation again? Non-Jewish nations? No, it isn't. There's a distinction called ha'amim. And it's consistent in the whole chapter. So if you think it's non-Jewish nations, you don't get it. Halo Yehudim shahayu ba'aretz kasher am Yisrael kasher am Yisrael agia l'sham kvash kvash ve'asheni. That was one kind of non-Jew. Remember, there's 2 kinds of non-Jews. Not 3. He changed directions. There's 2 kinds. The 7 Canaanite nations who were in the land of Israel before Israel got there to conquer it. And then Israel had a mission to wipe them out or get them subjugated, pay tax, and accept the 7 yada yada, which is the whole Shita Merkahan. Remember, we're not today yet. Don't bring up the Muslims. We're not there. We are in the days of Joshua right now. The second, Kol Shar Ha'amim Halo Yehudim Koilel Oivdei Avodah Zara B'nei Noav V'Gerei Toishiv. What's he talking about? He quoted the Ritva. Shalom. So he's saying, there's the non-Jew, as it applies to the land of Israel, and the non-Jew that has nothing to do with the land of Israel. So who was the Ritva talking about? the non-Jew that has nothing to do with Israel, and he mentioned Ger Toshav. Is there then a Ger Toshav that is not specifically attached to the land of Israel? Yes. So yes, it's confusing. Because in Rav Kahane's world, fast forward through Joshua, what happens when the residents, peoples, reject the Avodah Zarah and pay tax and subjugate themselves? They're called Ger Toshav, as it's connected to the land of Israel. Because there's two kinds of non-Jews, connected to Israel and not connected to Israel. And then the ones that are not connected to Israel, they are now three kinds of non-Jews. Oved Avodah Zarah, Ben Noach, and Ger Toshav. And connected to the land of Israel, there's the 7 Canaanite nations, making them Ger Toshav, and a whole other slew of terms. So Rav Kahane wants to know, when are you talking about? Where are you talking about? Who are you talking about? And where are you talking about it from? And he copied and pasted all of that. This is just one paragraph. I went through the whole chapter. And this whole thinking exists in every paragraph of the chapter. And I am sure someone that can write that, if you go through the whole book, and you go through every paragraph, he'll bring in the same amount of depth. That's the power of copying and pasting. I took a smicha test by Rav Zalman Nehemiah Goldberg years ago. And I gave my ridiculous answers, because he said they were ridiculous. He said, you are like everybody else, and you answer with logical conclusions. He said, a real rabbi just copies and pastes the source. If there's a question, the answer should be one word. Really, Rav Kahane did you a favor by quoting for you the Ritva. He should have just said, like the Ritva said. And he did you a favor by telling you what the Ritva said, and then people go and think that's what Rav Kahane said. Rav Kahane never said it. He did you a favor quoting for you the Ritva. But he didn't have to. It would be the same thing. And I want to make a personal anecdote for those people that like to say, what Katz is saying isn't even on the page. Well, you're right. I didn't see Makos 9a written anywhere here. Are you telling me that this Ritva is not from Makos 9a? Because them is fighting words, right? Look it up. Look it up. So here's my personal story that I've been telling people lately, because it's interesting. As I met with Rav Goldberg, we had an argument the day of my smicha test about a gechelis shel metechus, glowing metal in the Reshus Harabim, blah, 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 blah. Point is, that sugi has been on my mind to this day. Why? Because if Russell is my illegal Shabbos goy as a ger toshav, and on Shabbos, I say, Russell, can you turn on the incandescent light bulb? Specifically, incandescent light bulb. I did an Isser Deraisa by having a Ger Toshav do malacha for me. Whereas if it was the first opinion of the Ritva, our Stam Goy Oived Avodah Zarah, which is Shayak Amir La'akum, I only did an Isser Derabanan. Because a Goy can do malacha for me. The Torah says, rest your ger, not rest your goy. Now, an incandescent light bulb, the rabbis learn, is that glowing metal. So that's why I feel that I've been interested in that sugya, because you start to realize that subjects in Torah are all kind of the same, it's almost like cognates in language, right? You find that the words that you like are from one cognate. So the incandescent light bulb is a very Ger Toshav type thing, a roundabout way. So I thought, do I bring my new research on the incandescent light bulb just to kind of rile them up? And I thought, I better not, because I don't know what I'm getting into with Ger Toshav with them. Which, by the way, it went very well. So I broke out my test, and I looked at my test to see how I answered about that Gechelis Shel Metechus. It said, what is the din of the Gechela Shematek, glowing coal, to Rabbi Shimon, to Rabbi Yehuda, and what is the din of the Rambam? Now I know that sugya very well today. And I know where it's found in the Rambam. Remember, according to Rav Goldberg, I should write down the source of the Rambam, correct? Or where it was in Chazal. So I look at my answer, and I write that it's Muksa, and it's the machlokes between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda on Muksa, and then I gave the Rambam take on Muksa. Now Muksa means something you can't move on Shabbos. Look at what young moronic Rabbi David Katz did. The question was about putting out a flame on Shabbos. And I answered, it's Muksa. Does that make sense? I got very afraid. I closed the test and I said, I don't ever want to look at my test again. I don't even know if I'm a rabbi at this point. Because I was so off, I'm in serious trouble. Again, that's like saying, what time is it? And you say, the Red Sox just hit a home run. It was that left, pun intended, left field. So then I thought, you know what, look at my test again. And I realized what I did. Now remember, the attacks on I Get Ger are what Rabbi Katz is saying isn't found on the page. So now you have Rabbi Katz looking at Rabbi Katz, and I'm calling myself out, brother, that is not on the page. And then I thought, wow, I got it. Obviously you can't put out fire on Shabbos. But the question said, what is the din of putting it out? Assuming some idiot put it out. So I answered the question. Now it's Muksa, you can't move it. Right? I answered it right, 3 steps ahead. I wasn't thinking, can you or can't you put out fire? Obviously you can't put out fire. But I assumed that by the question, somebody put it out. And then I thought, okay, now they put it out, can it be moved? Can you move the metal? No, it's Muksa. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yehuda, what is the din of the Rambam? I answered it correctly. And no, it wasn't. It was 3 steps ahead, and you're not going to find it on the paper. So when I saw that, I realized what I've been doing. I Get Ger is like 3 steps ahead of where everybody else is. They're holding at Ger's convert. We're holding at, did you shift your consciousness and think, like Parshas Rei, give the Nevela to the Ger, da 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 da. We know Ger is convert. We know you can't put out fire on Shabbos. We know that you can use a goy as a Shabbos goy. But Torah extends off the page. What if that goy took on 7 laws? Like the words of the Ritva. Maybe now he has a different din. Maybe he's a Ben Noach or a Ger Toshav. What if somebody put out fire? Should I move the metal or leave it? Rav Kahane brings the Ritva. Does he know the sugya? Very well, I think he does. Because look what he says over here. I've got to find the page. He talks about the 3 conditions of making Ger Toshav of the type in the land of Israel. Meaning, 7 Canaanite nations, they have to lahashlim. That's the lashon of the Rav Kahane. They got to get rid of that thing that they want the land and not the Jew. So the Jew, as it says in Dvarim, I think it's 2018, make the nations lehit gayer, to become converts? No. Give them a chance to save their lives. Lahashlim. Now there's many ways they can go about it, but for the sake of making Ger Toshav, they can choose to be subjugated, pay taxes. I'll read it inside. Again, we're conquering the non-Jews in the land of Israel. Remember, there's 2 kinds of non-Jews. In the land, out of the land, right? If we're out of the land, that's the Ritva. If we're in the land, there's no Ritva here. So your Ger Toshav that you love in Idaho, That's not this guy. This Ger Toshav is conquered, not the guy in Idaho. So we're going to conquer him. The Elohim, these are the conditions. Kabbalas Hama'amid shel Ger Toshav. You want to be a Ger Toshav? He says, yeah, I want to be a Ger Toshav. And he's got to forsake his idolatry and accept the 7 laws of no. That's number 1. Number 2, pay taxes. He has to support the Jewish idea, the Jewish king. 3, servitude. He can never ever be better than the Jew in the land of Israel. So if you're going to be a non-Jew living in Israel, you are not going to be a Jew. Yeah, second-class citizenship, that's right. Because the land was given to the Jewish people. It is an eternal inheritance. If we're talking about Flatbush, it's a different Ger Toshav, and there's no servitude, and there's no second-class citizenship, and there's no paying taxes, and there's no blah, 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 blah. Why? Because the land cannot be removed from Jewish hands. And it's not a conspiracy theory. Right? I will never make spaghetti better than an Italian. I cannot go around saying that I'm more Italian than the Italians. You can't be in the land of Israel and be more Jewish than a Jew. That's how it is. If you want to be a Jew, convert. Conversion's an option. If you don't want to convert, then be a Ger Toshav. I don't want to be subjugated to some Jew. Then live in Idaho. And be a different Ger Toshav and be proud to be an Idahoan. And since now here's this. This is my favorite. Rav Kahane says the taxes and the servitude are easy to express by these conquered goyim. They're idolaters. They're Canaanite peoples. But again, if somebody wants to move into the land, we didn't conquer them. They chose to be subjugated by choosing to live in the land. But look what he says. Since by Ger Toshav it arouses machlekes rishonim, then rest this condition of Ger Toshav until the other 2 conditions are explained well of tax and servitude, that by them there's no argument by the Rishonim. What is he saying? He knows the Sugya very well. And he knows Ger Toshav is a very, very controversial Sugya. So yes, he did talk about the taxes and the servitude more. And the non-Jew in the land of Israel, servitude and taxes. That was only because he had a mission and he didn't want to be David Katz defending Ger Toshav to a bunch of people with the get-gers. And he was right. Don't we say Rav Kahane was right? And he got shot and killed for it. Now I'm not saying he was wrong. All I'm saying is there's already been a Rav Kahane. And he's already taught us about the land of Israel and the Goyim, and that Muslims today are in the Darga of the 7 Canaanite nations. That book's written. There needs to be a David Katz, apparently, to come and talk about the Ritva world. Because everyone's all talking about the land of Israel. And there needs to be a balance. Somebody talking about the Ritva. So I go around the world talking about the Ritva. And the Ger Toshav of the Ritva. And I'm not talking about the Ger Toshav of Rav Kahane. But if you ask me, if you want to live in the land of Israel, I will say, yeah, you'll be a subjugated person paying taxes, Ger Toshav in the land of Israel, or convert. Because that's what would happen with days of Joshua. It would happen today. It would happen all the time. But there's 2 kinds of non-Jews. Those that want to live in the land of Israel, those that don't. And if you don't, it's a separate 3 set of non-Jews. And it becomes Lafib Shuto. You're either a Stam Goy Ovid or a Zaru, or you rejected that, took on the 7 laws, or you rejected Shituf and became a Ger Toshav. And that's mashma in the words of the Rav Kahane. Did he focus on that? No. That wasn't what he was focusing on. He was worried about the Muslims taking control of the land of Israel. And he was also concerned about Vendell Jones. So he went to a Noahide conference. And I'm sure he wasn't talking about Vendell Jones being subjugated and paying taxes and this and that. So I am choosing to talk to people in Idaho. Rav Kahane chose to talk to Muslims in the land of Israel. When I go to Idaho, if you ask me, I'll mention this, and I'm sure Rav Kahane, says Miriam, talked about the Idaho Ger Toshav, righteous non-Jew. There are more than one kind of Ger Toshav. And it's very simple. It was in the opening words of Rav Kahane. In the English world, I really don't think you're going to get it. In the Hebrew world, you have no excuse not to get it. In the Hebrew world, most of them are unaware of the English world. In the English world, they're largely unaware of the Hebrew world. And that's where a lot of the controversy is. But I assure you, if your knowledge of Rav Kahane is in that English book in your hands, then you really should be saying Rav Kahane was wrong. Because you have no reason to say Rav Kahane was right. Because you are wrong. And then those Amoratzim then are saying that Rav Kahane was wrong because they don't understand the Hebrew. Therefore, those that teach Rav Kahane are wrong. Then it becomes a church battle. Right versus wrong. I'm right, you're wrong, he's right. It's not about right and wrong. It's called learn the Hebrew and figure it out. And you'll see that Rav Kahane was right.